Cynicism is just another form of cowardice. For our sergeant are not interested in a midlife crisis. We were to do our freaking work.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Spotlight Podcast, Success Stories for Veterans, where it is our job to break down and analyze heavy hitters in the military and civilian communities to discover their tactics, their mindset, and their systems so that you can take those and apply them to your life. Those heavy hitters range from New York Times bestselling authors to former heads of state and to other divergent thinkers who dominate their field by challenging conventional wisdom. And today, we are profiling one of the ultimate challengers of conventional wisdom, Kris Kristofferson. And we're profiling Kris Kristofferson because he is a former Army pilot and one of the most prolific songwriters of all time, yet not many people know his name. He is also the man who landed a helicopter on Johnny Cash's lawn. So take notes.
I'm so excited for this. We are profiling the most interesting man in the world, Kris Kristofferson.
Was it Jeff Goodman? Jeff Goodman, is that?
Goldblum?
Goldman, yeah, not Jeff Goldman, right?
Goldman or Goldblum?
What is it?
Well, if you're talking about the guy who was in, like, Jurassic Park, then it's Goldblum.
No, the Dos Equis guy.
Oh, I have no idea.
I think it's something Goldman. Josh Goldman or Jeff Goldman? I don't know. But not the Dos Equis man.
Not the Dos Equis guy.
So, sorry to burst your bubble.
Moral of the story, it is Kris Kristofferson. And I think we can make a pretty good case.
Right.
For why he is. And to be clear, we stole this idea from We Are the Mighty because they did a great write-up on him.
Mm-hmm.
And after seeing their 5 points, I was like, yeah, let's take a look at Kris Kristofferson and see what this guy's all about. And after digging, I have to say I agree.
Yeah.
I have to second the motion that was started by We Are the Mighty that I think Kris Kristofferson might be the most interesting person in the world. And he's still alive. He's 81. He's still kicking ass.
Yeah, he's still writing. That's
crazy.
crazy.
Okay. So even in his old age, he's still kicking ass. Did you see the story that they came across, or they thought he had Alzheimer's or some type of advanced brain disease? Turns out he just had Lyme disease. He's been taking all these medications for all these things that he doesn't have. Turns out he had Lyme disease.
He got bit by a tick?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
God, we're not laughing at
They started treating him for Lyme disease, and now he's back. Right? So
did we know how he got Lyme disease?
It's supposedly the guy's been doing all kinds of badass stuff.
I want to picture him out hunting with just a knife, like a switchblade,
exactly.
looking for vampires out in the woods.
Exactly. I'm assuming he had a knife on a stick, latched to it with paracord, and he was just out there and just got covered in ticks, saving us maybe from the predator, even though he wasn't in that movie.
He's probably taking down a bear.
Yeah.
I guess. Grizzly.
There's so many pictures of him on the interwebs, just shirtless, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, do you?
Well, yeah, Vladimir Putin's got nothing on Kris Kristofferson. I would vote for Kris Kristofferson for president.
Yeah.
Even memory problems or not.
Yeah, some of his quotes, I guess I would, because... Okay, we'll get into that a little bit later. I'll read some of his direct quotes.
Let's just tell the people, what's your favorite Kris Kristofferson quote right off the bat?
Wow. My favorite one I was going to say for later was... Maybe military service ought to be a requirement for our political leaders today. Straight quote from the man.
I think that's a valid point.
It's pretty good.
How are you going to be the commander-in-chief if you've never actually been...
hitting the politics today.
In the military. Well, we'll move away from that. I would basically just say any of the words that he used in Blade. In any of the Blade movies. And little-known fact about Kris Kristofferson, he is Whistler from Blade.
Oh, if anybody didn't know.
This guy, he very much decided to get out of the military. And you found a great quote. And he said, "So I support the troops. I identify with them. But I sure as hell don't identify with the bastards who sent him over there." The man is just a hardcore rebel.
Well, he was his age. That puts him, Korean and Vietnam era, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that probably don't typically agree with the troops being sent over there during those time periods. So this makes sense for him to say that during that time period, especially too. So yeah, I appreciate that quote.
I just love that everything he has done. Like if you look at all of the bios that have been done on Kris Kristofferson, there's a lot. They all just ooze with this concept that Kris Kristofferson is a rebel.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just he's the definition of the, you see these, people who don't give any fucks.
Mm-hmm. I would say him.
I would say a lot of people talk that game.
Mm-hmm.
Kris Kristofferson walked that game.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But this culminates. He landed a helicopter on Johnny Cash's yard.
Yeah, you wanted him to hear his demo.
Yeah, exactly. I want you to listen to my demo. I'm going to show up in a helicopter. That's outstanding marketing.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
You can't argue with that. So he really is.
He pushes boundaries.
Yeah, he's a prime example.
He wants something, he takes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of just going after it and getting after it and doing it in divergent ways. You know, most people try to put themselves into the flow of everybody else. Like, well, I better step in and get in line.
Yeah.
He succeeded in two very difficult industries. The Nashville music industry and the Hollywood movie industry. Now, you could debate how successful he was in Hollywood, but
I'd say he's very successful.
In my opinion, if you're Whistler from Blade,
I don't have any Grammys.
That was my first introduction to Kris Kristofferson. Was Blade? With the Blade movies.
Yeah.
And before I knew anything else about him, I knew him as Whistler. He's champion. And he really is, he's a one of a kind.
Yeah.
In talent.
Yeah. Very interesting man.
So how did we get people like Kris Kristofferson?
Well, I think you have to be born in Brownsville, Texas. I think that's the step one. So if we start with, before he got into becoming a veteran, he was born in Brownsville, Texas, right? And he was born to a U.S. Army Air Corps officer, right? So military is in his blood. And also his grandfather was part of the Swedish Army.
I did know that.
As an officer.
Yeah.
So,
this I think plays a lot into his later life because this eventually becomes what he rebels against.
Yes. You saw that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He rebels against it hard.
Mm-hmm.
But he does it first. But again, he started out in this military brat community.
And something that you have to remember with him through every aspect of his life is he hits the highest standards in everything he goes into. He wants the best of the best, right? So let's go push forward, right? So obviously his family members want him to join the military, right? Military is huge in his family. His brother was a jet pilot in the Navy too. Look at that.
I was just listening to the Kenny Loggins Highway to the Danger Zone is technically the name of the song. I've been listening to that all morning because we got on the discussion of Top Gun again.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
I can't avoid it.
Tom Cruise is coming later. Yeah. So something interesting I found too was at 17, he took a job dredging in Wake Island, which is like east of Guam. It's like this tiny little island. And he said that was the toughest job he ever had. Not being in the military, not anything like that, but 17, dredging in the Pacific Ocean. Like,
I would have to imagine that would be very frustrating.
Why would you take that job?
And I spent a lot of time looking into dredging, and I was like, well, why is that so difficult? And really there's nothing that explains that. So if anybody has any insight on why dredging in particular is such a terrible job, I would love to see it because it seemed to me like there was a lot of cranes and equipment involved, but I can't imagine why it was so difficult. But who knows? But coming from him, if he says that dredging is the hardest job he's ever had, they got to be doing something different.
We didn't find why he decided to take this job at 17.
Maybe it's because it was a Wake Island. No, I couldn't find
What's
that.
What's that Wake Island that you wanted to see?
Maybe it was because it was like, World War II.
I don't know. Very interesting. So we'll go push forward, right? Okay, so this tough exterior man, kicking butt, he decides to study creative writing at Sonoma College in California, right? And while he's doing creative writing, he's always had a passion for writing. And, I think that plays into his acting career, and his songwriting career. But he was a Golden Glove boxer.
Which to me is insane.
What?
Those are so.
You're a creative writer, but you go and kick butt afterwards.
Traditionally, those two things are so diametrically opposed to one another. And to have this guy just beating the tar out of people. Golden Glove. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That is a big deal. And he's also a creative writer.
That's like a feminine side with a very masculine side, I feel like.
I don't know how he did it.
I don't know either.
I don't know how he did it. But the guy, I'm blown away.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I thought Adam Driver was impressive. And I still do. I think he's very impressive.
If you're listening to this, Adam,
it's not you, it's Kris.
It's Kris.
Because Kris is incredible.
Yeah. And I mean, just keep going on, right? So
this is the next big one.
After he graduated Sonoma College, he did so well that he became a Rhodes Scholar, right? And he got a Rhodes Scholarship to study literature at Oxford. Now, this Golden Glove boxer, who's also playing rugby at the time, is now going to go study literature at Oxford. What do you feel about that?
The Rhodes Scholar.
It's
scholarship that puts you in and of itself into an elite world-class group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Rhodes Scholars do things like run the United States.
Yeah, it's very true.
That is insane.
I don't know if the woman who found the black hole was a Rhodes Scholar, but she should.
Yeah, I don't know either. But to me, it speaks to, and this is something we have talked about, if this is a takeaway as a veteran from this, is, again, people will try to put you into the box of you're just some meathead, or you're just some, somebody who didn't have anything else to do. Bullshit. Kris Kristofferson is a perfect example of somebody who's just kind of completely unstoppable. Like, yeah, sure, I'll do creative writing. Why not? Yeah, I'll be a Golden Glove boxer. Why not? I'll be a Rhodes Scholar. Why not?
Yeah, the best of the best in every subject that he's in. Everything that,
and he's doing things that are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, creative writing and literature, yeah, sure, they have some crossover. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah.
At Oxford.
A lot of people can't say that. And I think there's like a limit too. I think it's like 50
There's not
Rhodes
many.
Scholars out.
There's not many.
Per year or something.
So,
it's amazing.
Yeah. So that's, just a casual day in the park for Kris Kristofferson.
Well, and, that plays in while he was studying at Oxford too, and studying at Sonoma College. He was writing his own stuff while he was there too. That plays heavily into his later career. But
and he stays in athletics. Another understated part of his personality, he was also a phenomenal rugby player. Which, I don't know. Have you watched rugby?
Absolutely not. I watched the American version.
Insane. Both of my older brothers played rugby. Rugby players are some of the most hardcore
I can't get over the
people
ball. I don't know why.
Ball or not.
It looks deflated and fat for some reason. I don't know why.
You're offended by the ball?
I kind of. I mean, I like football, so it's just.
I would say that if you
do the crossover.
I'm going to make this all speculation. Rugby players versus football players. Rugby players are tougher.
Probably. All the football players have CTE or something.
Damn.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Their brains are pudding, so.
Their brain. Oh, man. Will Smith would have something to say. He made a whole movie about that.
I know.
Yeah.
We'll get him on.
But rugby players, they're incredible. But the interesting part about rugby players.
They don't wear pads, right?
No, not really. They may have a little softness up top. Yeah, they wear old school, almost old school, World War, pre-World War II football helmets.
CTEs.
Yeah. Well, the way they tackle kind of prevents a lot of things. But rugby players are interesting because it's a sport for assholes, and this is self-described as a sport for assholes played by gentlemen.
Do you play rugby?
I don't play rugby because I don't have
You're not an asshole.
I don't have the marbles to do it.
It's just that tough.
Yeah, I mean, you watch these. I've seen some rugby injuries, right? I mean, there's a very large potential of just getting stroked in the face. I mean, in the rucks. I mean, people are getting stepped on. And here's this Golden Glove boxer / Rhodes Scholar / most incredible person ever, and he's in there mixing it up on the rugby field, and he's apparently very good.
The only time I've ever watched rugby is for 2 seconds that I see a clip on Facebook, and they're all running in a circle, they're all in a pile. Is that correct, or is that just a riot?
It's the definition. It basically is a riot. It's a controlled riot. I think that's a great way to describe it. Actually, Katie.
I'm glad. Just make sure I'm getting this right.
My brothers will hear this and they'll be like, yeah, exactly. Shout out rugby players worldwide. You guys are awesome. I love watching rugby.
All right, so let's push back rugby. Pass rugby, sorry.
In the meantime, he's also continuing to write songs.
Right.
Which I don't know when he started that. I couldn't pinpoint that in my research where he actually started writing songs.
Yeah.
But I'll just write some songs.
Probably doing creative writing during his high school time frame, I imagine.
I would assume so.
So after he graduates from Oxford, right, he decides to join the army, right? So let's get into his army service.
Yeah, let's do that.
So
he serves as an airborne ranger.
Okay, so Billy Badass.
Yeah, but as a helicopter pilot. Now I don't know how those two things reconcile. I don't understand how you can be both a ranger and a helicopter pilot, but apparently he did both.
Well, I mean, he was an officer too, so
he's
he could do whatever he wants.
He's the Deion Sanders, basically. Yeah, exactly. He's just doing both. Like, yeah, you want to be ground side and a helicopter pilot? Sure. You're Kris Kristofferson. We won't say no to you.
I like Deion Sanders.
He got to the rank of captain.
That's pretty high,
yeah.
right? In the Army?
To me,
the Navy it is. So.
Well, captain of the Navy is a colonel in the... you're thinking like 06.
Yeah.
03 in the Army.
Well, that's still an officer. I was never
exactly.
close to that,
He's got 2 bars. I'm not going to disparage any captains out there, but they're not 06s.
Step up your game. All right.
So he never made it to major, but he did his next assignment, post, or his next post was to go to West Point and teach literature, at which point he promptly said, hell no, I'm out.
I'm going to go study music.
Yeah.
I'm going to go be a musician.
Sorry, Army. I've basically conquered everything you could throw at me, I guess. I don't know.
Not just sorry, Army, but sorry, family.
Yeah,
never going to talk to you ever again because
exactly.
I'm getting out.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point about this is that I would have to assume that he knew that this would cause friction.
Yeah, some turmoil in between them.
Yeah, and he's like, nope. Yeah, I think of like the movie Friday Night Lights where Tim McGraw, whatever that dude's name, yelling at each other and the kid says, I don't want your laugh. I'm kind of thinking that's how that went down.
And that's what it sounds like too in that Texas accent.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want your laugh. So he moves to
Well, I just kind of want to say something too is, later on we get into his awards and his famous friends, and one of his famous friends is Willie Nelson, and Willie Nelson says that if he was to stay in the Army, he would have been a general by now.
Oh,
and
for sure.
He would have been doing amazing things too. So like his time that he spent in, he was doing the best of the best, and he was conquering all obstacles.
If his life up until that point is any indication of what he would have been capable of had he stayed in the military, I would absolutely agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that assessment.
No.
Who would say no to him?
Nobody.
Because here, Kris Kristofferson
he'd get him with that rugby hit.
when I look at Kris Kristofferson, and I reserve this particular compliment to very few people. Like I would put Kris Kristofferson right there with like James Mattis, in terms of you look at this person and you're like, that is a man's man.
Oh, okay.
Just in a group of men, everybody's like, "Oh, I want to be like Kris Kristofferson."
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, exactly. Jason Momoa's pretty solid. I don't know that he's any Kris Kristofferson. I might be giving him too much. I don't know that I'm willing to go there yet with Jason Momoa. Right. He and I are still.
All right. I'll give you a PowerPoint about it later.
Yeah. Please provide some detailed points on that. But Kris Kristofferson is a man among men, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I just can't find any chink in his armor. When I was looking for this, I was like, what is it that, maybe like a weakness that he drew on or that was exposed that he had to overcome? I don't know.
Yeah. And while we point out too, while he was in the military service, he was listening to a lot of country music during this time that kind of influenced him. And while he was in, he says that he only found a couple people that really knew Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson, and he kind of stuck with them. And while he was in, he listened to them all the time, and they became heroes to him.
No.
And he wanted to be just like him. So I think that's what kind of pushed him to get out too, is he saw these two guys who were, they're music icons, and he was like, I want to be them. What
was it about them in particular?
I think it was, you can speculate this as well, but Johnny Cash writes a lot of music that's true. Yeah. He writes a lot of songs that people weren't willing to dive into. I mean, his prison song, like he writes things that hit with all types of people. He just doesn't limit himself to just, country people. He hits a wide spectrum, and his music is very relatable to listen to, and he hits those low points and he hits the high points. And I think, and especially with Willie, old crazy Willie Nelson, he sings a lot of songs that he just feels are right, and they don't fit a norm. And so I think that with them being so true to themselves and being the icons that they are and exploring this crazy, because I mean, you know Johnny Cash, he hit a new type of music when he first came out, right?
Absolutely.
He was very
He was the man in black.
And I think that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be that next icon, and he wanted to write music that, you know, hit everybody.
Yeah.
You know, that people could connect with.
Yeah, Johnny Cash was a huge departure. And I think that it gets back to the point of divergent thinking. I mean, Johnny Cash, I mean, he was talking about doing cocaine and things like that. and Sunday Morning Coming Down, and, you know, all these songs that would not, even today, probably make it on the radio because they were too edgy. Like, Johnny Cash is too edgy for modern country music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Willie Nelson, same thing. And they're really not that edgy. And
every time I picture Willie, I picture him with Snoop Dogg. So
yeah, I agree with your assessment. And if I had to speculate as to why Kris Kristofferson looked up to those two individuals in particular, it's because they are also divergent thinkers. There's not these people that are willing to accept what is just handed to them and saying, yeah, like, I'll do this. And for all intents and purposes, Kris Kristofferson walked away from something that was basically not handed to him, because I don't want to discredit his achievements within that. But, you know, he this military life, he could have stayed in it. He could have done it. And he probably would have been a general.
Yeah.
He was like, no, I'm not gonna follow this same routine, the same route. I'm gonna go do something. I'm gonna go do what I want to do, and I'm gonna do it how I want to do it. But he did it without being an asshole. Mm-hmm. Which is what you see a lot of this, like, unapologetically yourself, life without limits, no forget, you know, like all this, like this fake motivational crap that's out there these days. And I don't think that that's what the point is. I think the point is that you just have a divergent thought. You're like, no, I'm going to do it my way because I want to do it my way. And we also heard that from Maximilian.
Mm-hmm. And I found this awesome quote. I think you found it too. Not quote, but fact about him when he left the military, obviously, and he went down to Nashville, right? And when he did, he was a janitor. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He was a janitor at these recording stations so he could get his foot in the door. A captain.
Can you explain?
Ranger went and became a janitor so he can get his foot in the door and know the music business. To me, that's super humbling.
Yeah, so let's paint this picture for people.
Wow.
So he was doing that. He's working as a janitor. Mm-hmm. The reason he's doing that is so that he can get his demo tapes. He can leave it on the desks of people at night. Because basically he said, well, you know, I don't have access. Uh-huh. At least I'm assuming this is what his thought process is. Like, I don't have direct access, but I can get direct access because I can go be a janitor and get it that way.
What did the person think that hired him? I saw his resume. Like, you were a captain in the Army and you're coming to be a janitor.
I don't know. I don't know. But he was also flying people out to oil rigs. So, like, when he wasn't doing that, he was flying people to oil rigs in Louisiana. I just got, you know, he obviously didn't take the job because he needed the money or he needed the job. It was all about the opportunity. It's like the person that takes a late night radio DJ gig to bone up on their skills and force themselves to develop interview skills or working with the equipment or anything like that. He clearly didn't need it for the money. He needed it for the opportunity, and it totally worked.
Yeah, it did.
It totally worked because now we get into he goes from working to a janitor to eventually winning Golden Globes.
I know. This is crazy.
This is the meaty part.
And I don't think we want to. I don't think we want to cross over. He did say he struggled for years to get into the music business. He struggled for several years singing wise because when he first got there and he wanted to be, you know, a singer, it didn't click for him right then and there. He had to get into writing songs, and writing songs, I think, is his most successful area of business. He has become such a successful songwriter and has wrote with so many people, but I don't think we want to shut out that time period it took for him. This all didn't just happen overnight. It took him years and years of hard work to get through the door, but he never quit.
Yeah.
He never stopped.
Yeah. The man had a game plan and he stuck with it. Mm-hmm. And then he started doing just really incredible stuff. And I think it's very timely that Kris Kristofferson comes back into the conversation, especially considering that he was in the original cast of the movie A Star Is Born with Barbra Streisand.
Yeah. I love that. I
just
never
got remade.
seen that original one.
I have not watched it. I'm not typically a Barbra Streisand fan.
Oh, well, I don't know if we can.
And I don't
continue.
love typically singing, like musical style movies. But if Kris Kristofferson's in it, I'm willing to watch it. I'm willing to give it a go.
Okay.
But that's where he went. He went down this next diversion, and he goes on and wins the Golden Globe. I don't recall anywhere in any of this where he started taking acting lessons.
No.
When did that happen?
I think what I've read is that he gained so much popularity from being a songwriter, and he became buddy with Johnny Cash and with Willie Nelson. He became extremely good friends with Willie Nelson. So I think him hitting all of these high points where he wrote songs. Me and Bobby McGee, I love that song. It's fantastic.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
Janis Joplin.
It was Janis Joplin. I know, it's so cool. And I think from him getting all that spotlight with all of these other famous artists, Hollywood kind of caught on to it. And I think Hollywood caught on to his kind of his appearance, his voice. He's got a pretty aggressive demeanor about him, and they said, hey, this guy's gonna be great for acting roles.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at him on the cover of A Star Is Born, he's got a shirt off, which again, like, to my point earlier, he's always got a shirt off. I mean, the guy's got a great look, he's got a great image.
Would you say he has a great body?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. What man wouldn't admit that?
All right. So talking about me and Bobby McGee, he's helped me make it through the night, and he's wrote so many chart-topping hits, and he's wrote over 450 compositions. I mean, that's outrageous.
That's outrageous. Okay, let's put that in perspective.
Okay,
for people,
I love to put things in perspective.
Christina Aguilera,
she's got a good voice.
Took 3 years to write one album and 12 songs.
Was it dirty?
I don't know.
Do you remember that album?
I don't know.
When she wore those chaps. Remember?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I love
All I'm saying is Kris Kristofferson, 450, right? Most artists fall apart trying to write an album of 12 songs.
Yeah.
Within a year turnaround time. And he has 450.
That's insane.
If you divide that, that's 45 albums if that's 10 songs per album.
And he's still writing to this day.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And now that his Lyme disease is going away, we might get another Kris Kristofferson album.
Stay out of the woods,
Chris. I'm not laughing at you. I'm excited for you, sir. Give us another one.
So
the comeback kid. This guy needs a movie about him.
Yeah, he really does. And so not just being a Golden Globe winner, right? He's a 3-time Grammy winner. Wow, that's insane. And he wrote songs with, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, and Waylon Jennings, which is, those are icons. Those are music icons that their music will forever be played.
Yeah.
And so just the fact that he made it onto that level, to me, is it's amazing.
Right? I'm going to speculate here.
Oh, I'm down.
I'm going to speculate here. Because we've got this guy, and we've talked to Maximilian. We have talked about Adam Driver. We've talked about Kris Kristofferson. We've talked about guys like Chuck Feeney.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get some ladies into this podcast, I swear. But when we look at these people, why are these veterans so successful in the creative realm?
Mm-hmm.
When I pull it apart, I always come back to the conclusion that it's because something about military service, something about doing that informs your soul. You see, I believe that it increases your ability to empathize. And I think that that's why they are able to write and develop these deep characters and these deep concepts that people relate to, because they do things like dredging.
Mm-hmm.
And they do things like working as janitors, and they do all these things. And so when they're up and on stage, or they've got pen in hand, they can harness that and they can channel that, and then they work with all these other interesting people.
I like that you said that, because when we were talking to Max, he said the reason why he did join was so he can get that experience, so he can be a successful artist. And I didn't write that in the quote, but Chris does talk about the fact that he feels a lot of his success is due to his experiences that he has. And he believes that a lot of people, to be successful in, such a business that he's in, you need to experience those things. And so it's weird that we hear that back to back.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because from the veteran community, outside looking in, civilians looking at the veteran community, you can see this, these challenges and these dilemmas. And you say, they're screwed, right? Not understanding that kick in the teeth that a lot of people have is what makes them who they are and makes them able to do the things that they do. If for no other reason you say, well, nothing could be as bad as that. Or it's because you can look at it and say, that didn't stop me. Whatever a trigger point occurs within people, it's clearly profound. And I think it manifests in different ways in different people. It's easy to look at guys like Kris Kristofferson because we can, see their entire portfolio of work basically since getting out of the military, because they're literally on a screen somewhere and you can quite literally watch what they did. But there's a lot of other veterans, a little more understated guys like Trafini, who took that same emotion or same dilemma and channeled it towards something else. And the key point, the key break is that if you're a veteran, again, do not listen to the doubters, because there's so much value external to skills, right? Everybody wants to talk about translating your skills. Oh, so what?
How's that translate onto a resume?
Yeah, exactly. It does not matter because apparently you can land a helicopter on Johnny Cash's front lawn and get where you need to go, even though that didn't work.
No fucks.
Yeah, no fucks, right? And no fucks is not like, oh, I just don't care anymore. I'm going to let myself go. That's not what it is. It's just that you refuse to be inhibited by other people's self-limiting beliefs.
Right.
And that, Kris Kristofferson broke away from other people's limiting beliefs. He did not accept them, even as he was getting kicked in the teeth. And yeah, there were a lot of struggles. And I have a good friend of mine. His name is Nick Gibson. He's in the Nashville music scene, and he now is playing lead guitar for Lauren Elena.
Okay. On
tour with her. And he talks about these same challenges. But once you break through it, I mean, the guy's living his dream.
Right.
And every step of the way, people were telling him, you've made a mistake, you've made a mistake, you've made a mistake, you've made a mistake, constantly. He refused to accept it. Yeah. He refused to accept the fact that he has to live this planned out route that everybody else did, because everybody's, you need to go to college and you need to do music as a side gig. And he said, no, I'm in. Right. I'm all the way in.
Right.
And it worked.
Yeah. That's your passion. Like for him, you can tell that Kris's passion was music. And so if your passion is music, you do everything you can do to make that your life. Yeah. Live your life the way you want to live it and do everything that you have to do. And there are years that's going to struggle. And, that's the norm. Everyone's going to experience that struggle, but you do what you got to do and put your experiences into what you're doing as well for you to be successful. Yeah.
And I think it's hard too, because as you're in that struggle, it's easy for me on the outside looking in to say, you should celebrate that struggle because it gave you something, it gave you an X factor that other people didn't have. And it's very hard to tell somebody who's right in the middle of that, like, no, just hold on. And this experience is going to be very valuable and it's going to, make you better in the long run because I hate hearing that. Even when it's me complaining and somebody's like, it's going to make you better in the long run. You're like, shut up.
I know.
How
many times did people tell you that, like while you were doing like a maintenance item during? Yeah,
I just want to complain right now.
It makes it feel better.
But it really does. It does have an impact long term, and it is so frustrating to hear that. But when you go back and you review somebody like Kris Kristofferson, and I promise, I think there needs to be a vote somewhere. Instead of the 2020 elections, instead of electing the next president, we should elect the most interesting person in America.
So not The Rock?
I do love The Rock.
He said he was going to run.
If he's running for president, sure.
Just saying, Kris Kristofferson versus The Rock.
The Rock is as good as anybody else. But I'm saying instead of electing a president, if we were just going to elect the most interesting person in the world,
gotcha.
I would put Kris Kristofferson at the top of that ballot. Yeah. The Rock would also probably be on that ballot.
I would too.
He's pretty fantastic.
Just a couple things that he won. He won a Lifetime Achievement Award. Did you see that?
I did not. What did he win that for?
It was a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Do you know how the Grammys will give out like a person who's done so much work in their notable work in their time period? He actually won a Lifetime Achievement Award.
That is very interesting. I mean, they don't just give those out.
No, they don't.
It's basically, I would put that in my mind. That seems to me like, first ballot Hall of Famer in a sport, but basically for music. Yeah, it's kind of how I take that.
They do that about once a year to somebody whose work is impactful and leaves a meaning, and so you never know. Spike Lee might get one. I mean,
Spike Lee probably deserves one.
I mean, you never know.
The guy's got a huge body of work,
and he also won Veteran of the Year award, and it was presented to him by Willie Nelson, which was so sweet to watch. And Willie said such nice things about him, and the fact that he won Veteran of the Year is just it says a lot about a person too. It says,
I wonder where he would put Veteran of the Year in his hierarchy of awards in his heart and soul.
He probably sent an invitation to his parents to come see Veteran of the Year, but they probably declined.
Damn, Katie. Taking shots.
That's just kind of upsetting because there's a lot of speculation that says what's upsetting about his life, and he probably feels this every day, is it says they don't know if he reconciled with his family after getting out of the military, after he did all these amazing things with his life, and he didn't let his life just go to waste. And he wasn't just struggling in Nashville for 20 years. And I hope that his parents see what kind of mark he has made in the industry, because the industry he's in really fluctuates how people are in this world. I mean, it really does. It leaves impacts on how people should behave.
Well, I think that the fact that he achieved icon status is a testament to the fact that he, there are different tastes that occur within the music and entertainment industry, and there are different tastes that evolve. And the people who seem to be the perennial all-stars are the people who still stay grounded to the initial X factor that they had that made them unique and different. Now, I'm not saying that manifests itself in that you're going to write the same song for the next 40 years about the same situation. No, but for example, somebody like Nas, who's a rapper, once he made it big, he started writing songs about other people and their situations. Johnny Cash kind of did the same thing, right? His Folsom album, he started telling other people's stories. Yeah. And he was able to do it successfully because he could relate to them, because I don't know that Johnny Cash was ever in prison. I haven't done enough detail, but
Wait, no, I think he just went to jail a few times.
I'm sure he ended up in jail.
Yeah, jail's for sure.
Johnny Cash was a wild child too, but
my kind of man.
Again, he stayed and he got outside of his box too. Like Johnny Cash was starting to do like 9 Inch Nails remakes, right? And to have I love 9 Inch Nails. And they interviewed 9 Inch Nails, like, how does it feel to have Johnny Cash redo one of your songs? And they were blown away. They're like, yeah, that's Johnny amazing. Cash doesn't matter that he's a country musician. He's Johnny Cash. Yeah. And when you can transcend any type of barrier like that, you can transcend generations, you can transcend the BS and in what you see of a lot right now in the United States, this crab in the bucket mentality, this scarcity mentality that people have that says if somebody else is achieving, that means I'm losing. As opposed to like an abundance mentality where, everybody can do their thing and we can all do what we do. Somebody doesn't always have to lose, right? This is a zero-sum game. And it seems to me that Kris Kristofferson proceeded with that type of mentality. And even in spite of the fact that his family didn't agree with him. Right. And there are a lot of veterans, I'm fortunate that I have a very supportive family, and I think you do too. But I've seen a lot of veterans who struggle when they get out. They don't have that family support. And that is unfortunate. But hey, Kris Kristofferson, look at him as a model. It's not that the goal is to break ties with your family so that you can be a more informed artist or anything like that. But you might have to take away from this. Might have to realize that sometimes resistance comes from where you least expect it. Right. And you can still succeed in spite of that. And I'm not sure that I guarantee it didn't feel good. I don't think he probably wanted that to happen with his family. But if we ever get on the podcast, we'll ask him.
Well, we'll make sure to make that one of our key questions.
So what's our key takeaway from Kris Kristofferson? What is it about his mindset has happened? Anything, if we had to sum this up for everybody?
I would say that take risk. learn from your experiences. Don't ignore your experiences. Don't look down on them. Take what you've done in the past and really, go up from that. Don't think what you did in the past is the best. With him, he could have said, "Oh, I was a captain. I don't have to be anything more than this," because it's a standard a lot of people will never reach in their life. A lot of people in the military too. They will never be officers in their life. And he could have been like, "Well, I was just a captain." He could have gone around and say, I'm a captain, blah 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 blah. But he's became, I'd say, even more successful after that because while he's doing good things as an officer and serving your country, but then he got out and he's been an influential person, in the music industry. And so, don't stop and learn from your experiences. And if you're a veteran, be better than what you are. Don't let getting out, don't let that be your high point. Don't let your military just be your high point in your life. Take your experiences and keep pushing forward to be, a better person than that too.
Yeah. I would say my key point that I took away, and it's similar to what Maximilian was talking about, is sometimes you're the only person who sees the path forward. And you can get all this external input from other people. It's good to take advice from other people, but sometimes you're the only one who sees the path. Sometimes that path looks ugly. And a lot of times people will put barriers in place. And what I love about Kris Kristofferson is he did that sidestep. And that's what Maximilian talked about. Like, when you run into these small thinkers that you're going to encounter, I promise you, sidestep it. And for Kris Kristofferson, that looked like, taking a janitor job to drop demo tapes.
Right.
That looked like trying to land a helicopter on Johnny Cash's front yard to show somebody his demo tape. All these different maneuvers that he made, if he would have talked to somebody about him, some reasonable human being probably would have talked him out of it.
Yeah.
Versus he saw a path forward. He took the shot, and now, in my eyes, he's the most interesting man in the world. So take that for what it is.
Hey everyone, thanks again for listening to another episode of the Spotlight Podcast. And I just wanted to take a second to ask you who you think should be interviewed on the show. Who do you think is out there that's just absolutely crushing it that the veteran population needs to hear from? That's what we want to hear from you. Send us your suggestions to spotlight@thezenveteran.com. That's SPOTLIGHT @thezenveteran.com. Thanks again for listening.